Hi there, I'm Ewan Nicholson. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be exploring the issue of the role of humility in healing childhood trauma and why this is, surprisingly helpful and important and a virtue that I think is really worth focusing on and trying to develop and nurture in this process of healing. And I think what's complicated about humility is we often have these kind of almost ideas in our mind of what it is to be humble. You see a lot of stuff on YouTube and on social media about a cocky YouTuber gets humbled by an MMA fighter or something along those lines, where we associate humility with this process of being arrogant, and then something comes along or a person comes along and puts us back in our place. I also think, the word humility and humiliation are obviously connected. And if you've experienced a lot of shame and humiliation, the idea of being humble can feel like it's paired with that. But what I'd like to look at today is just how to reframe that a little bit differently and how to understand what humility really is and its role in this healing process. And what I'd like to explore is understanding humility not as a kind of a bowing and a meekness and being humbled as a result of being arrogant, but rather this willingness to step into a space where we really come to grips with the fact that we don't know all the things we think we do know. And in relation to childhood trauma, what that can often mean is we have very fixed and very rigid beliefs quite negatively about who we are. I'm an anxious person, I'm broken, I can't change, it's hopeless. We have these ideas about who we are in our story that it's not like they're arrogant, but they are very fixed. It's like, this is the truth. I've got the receipts, I've got the evidence in my life to prove that I'm incapable of change, that I just can't get rid of that anxiety. And if we point humility towards these ideas, and these aren't ideas of arrogance and superiority, it's like a flip version of that, where we've decided in a very definitive and rigid way that I am this way. I am incapable of change. And humility is moving into a space where we say, look, I don't know. Questioning and opening up a kind of a spaciousness and an awareness that maybe we don't know. And we're not also then just flipping it immediately like, I'm broken, well, I'm not broken, and I'm a loser, no, I'm a winner. We're just working to move into this space of, I don't know. I really don't know. And these fixed ideas that I've really held on to very tightly for a long time, maybe there's room here to question and query and inquire about what's really going on here with me. What is really happening, without any definitive answers, without having a predetermined conclusion about I am this. But the humility to say, look, I really don't know. And what that does, it creates an openness inside of us, a spaciousness to discover, to explore what could be there. Like, what's happening in me right now? How am I really feeling? What's really going on? Without this preconceived sense of, well, it's this. Because I think for a lot of us, including myself, when we're on this healing journey, we come to these conclusions. Like, I'm this way because of that way. I can't change because I'm lazy or I'm selfish, or there's this thing that's kind of wrong with me and this is the reason. And if I could just deal with that thing, then maybe my life would change. And we have decades of going around the same circle. And humility is like, well, maybe there's something I'm missing here. Maybe there's something about how I understand myself that I'm not seeing. And humility is like, oh, okay, maybe that's possible. And it's not jumping to another conclusion that's positive. It's just entering in this space where we're open, where we're bowing before our accepting there's a level of ignorance here, or maybe delusion or illusion. There's something we're not seeing, and we're open to that. And there can be a little bit of fear as we approach that tentative open space. Because I think for all of us, we like to have this sense of solidity, like I know this and I know that, and that feeling of, I know this gives me a clearer sense of identity. When we move into this unknown space, it feels, like where's our reference point? Where's our anchor in this or that? So it can feel a little bit scary. It can feel a little bit unknown. But we're trying to lean into that a little. We're trying to soften into this space where it's okay not to know. It's okay to kind of bow a little and have this kind of humility. There's a famous Christian mystical text from the Middle Ages called the Cloud of Unknowing. And in that it sort of puts forward this understanding that in order to know God, we have to unknow. We have to move into this unknowing space. And beneath the cloud of unknowing, it also talks about a cloud of forgetting. So we kind of move, my interpretation of that in terms of like transporting that over to healing childhood trauma rather than our relationship with God is, the cloud of forgetting is we put aside all our preconceived ideas of what we think is true. And we then move into this cloud of unknowing, like I don't know. And we're trusting that somewhere in that space, comprehension, understanding, insight arises from that openness rather than this fixed set of ideas. So it's just, something to kind of be with, something to consider. And it can be quite liberating because a lot of the ideas we have about ourselves that are very rigid are often quite negative and they don't serve us and they feel very limited. We feel like we're stuck with them and they're foregone conclusions, and then our ways of dealing with them as well can then be very limited. So we've got this is my anxiety and this is what I need to do with it, and if I and we're relaxing a little. We're creating this kind of humility, like let's start afresh. Let's look at this with fresh eyes. Like maybe I don't know. Let's see what arises from that. And I think if you can get a feel of that, it might help reinvigorate or reopen some of the places you might feel a bit stuck in your healing childhood trauma journey. So look, I hope this has helped. I hope you found this supportive. If you've got any insights or any comments about your experience of humility, your understanding of it, please put it in the comments section. Take care of yourself and bye-bye.